has. Hey, remember Joe Biden's speech yesterday when purportedly he clinched the Electoral College? He didn't do too much talking. He did more coughing, it seemed like.
For the soul of America, faith in our institutions held. And now it's time to turn the page, to heal.
A small sample of the coughs, and I'm concerned because the way it's looking for Joe, his health, I don't think he's going to make it for Donald Trump's second inauguration. Yes, on January 20th, I do believe that there is a significant chance that Donald Trump could be inaugurated. Now, I do know that there are smart, informed people who are saying that Joe Biden is the president-elect. Now, I disagree with them, and it's not just a hunch that I'm going on. It's the Constitution, okay? If you look up the text, the Constitution, Article 2, they have a whole bunch of clauses on this stuff. And let's take it full. This didn't happen yesterday, it happens on January 6th. The President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates and the votes shall then be counted. All right, and it goes on, one more step, the person having the greatest number of votes shall be the president. That has not taken place yet. January 6th it happens. And oh, by the way, these have been contested before in American history. Sometimes productively, sometimes not so much. 20 years ago, in the wake of the Florida recount and George W. Bush and Al Gore, you remember that? Guess what? There were a lot of people, especially from Florida, they happened to be people of color. They didn't think that they were treated fairly, certainly in Florida, and they stepped forward. And constitutionally, they had a right to do that, but they did not have much help. Watch what happened.
Mr. President, I am objecting to the idea that votes in Florida were not counted. And it's a sad day in America, Mr. President, when we can't find a senator to sign these objections.
The gentleman will suspend.
Isn't that interesting? Vice President Gore, who was previously a presidential candidate, president of the Senate as vice president. So the members of Congress were looking for a senator to essentially complain with them about the election. If they did it in writing, a member of Congress, the House, and a senator, it would have to be debated. Now, it didn't work, but they certainly tried. More than a dozen kept coming forward, but they couldn't get one senator. Watch this.
Mr. President, I have an objection at the desk to Florida's 25 electoral votes.
Is the objection in writing and signed by a member of the House of Representatives and a senator?
Mr. President, it is in writing, and it is signed by my Congressional Black Caucus colleagues, my House colleagues, and myself, but it is not signed by one single senator.
On the basis previously stated, the point of order may not be received.
Al Gore got pretty high marks from the mainstream media and people on the other side of the aisle for how he conducted himself that day. But it would have been very, very different, perhaps in history, if some senators signed up with those members of the House to further explore and discuss how this should all go down. Should these electoral votes be allocated as the Electoral College had indicated? Well, on January 6th, a lot of us are wondering, will there be House members and will there be senators who will team up and put this issue to the test? There is a real chance that it could happen. Members of the House stepping forward, joined by members of the Senate. Now, there is more historical precedent for this. Now, a lot of the stuff is obscure. It happened a long time ago, but in 1876, they had a brokered, essentially, electoral college. And it has happened. The rules are arcane. I'm still becoming acquainted with them, but folks, there's constitutional precedence for some of this. Do not dismiss it. We dismiss it at our own peril. I believe the media have a responsibility to start looking at this very, very seriously because anything can happen, I believe. And you know what? Consider this. Hunter Biden, for a long time, we were told that any questions about him were fake news, right? Any questions of Hunter Biden and breaking the law and taking money he shouldn't have, and that laptop with all those interesting communications on it, that was some sort of, how did the vice president put it during the debate?
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
Okay. Russian intelligence, disinformation. Russian intelligence ran a disinformation campaign. He mentioned 50 officials from the intelligence community, and they did. They came forward, just as Joe said, and they signed a letter saying this has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. And you've heard of some of these people. Let's go a little closer here. I think we had John Brennan on that list, Mr. Clapper. Those guys, it's the who's who of the Durham report, potentially. Russian disinformation, huh? Russian disinformation. That means that Vladimir Putin, the KGB, they were responsible for Hunter's laptop. That's something else, right? Actually, no. Joe Biden was probably lying to us because the information is true blue American information. It totally is. This story is now validated. No one is saying that Rudy Giuliani colluded with the Russians. We're hearing it from the Department of Justice that Hunter Biden is being investigated. It is real. We should have known that before the election, don't you think? Instead, the media told us it was fake news. Now, we reported it, by the way, right here. Sinclair Television, I believe, reported it as well. But everyone else, they were just doing press releases for the Biden campaign. Kelley, the press secretary, one of the many reasons why I want Donald Trump to stay in office. Quite a moment in the briefing room today.
Politico, October 19th. Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation. That's a favorite. Dozens of former intel officials say false yet again. December 2nd, now Politico reads, Justice Department's interest in Hunter Biden covered more than taxes. Really interesting turn of events, and good for those who covered what was a story all along and not Russia disinformation.
Isn't that interesting, huh? But you did notice that a lot of intelligence officials, former intelligence officials, they did sign that letter. It was a cleverly written letter. It gave them all kinds of outs, but they were willing to say that this was Russian collusion when it wasn't, or Russian disinformation. Now, why would they be that upset with Donald Trump to accuse him of possibly having a hand with the Russians? You know, they did that for 2 years, and they're still doing it, or tried it again during the campaign. Well, occasionally Donald Trump takes on the intelligence community.
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that. And that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace.
Now, the intelligence community, nobody in the swamp is used to that kind of talk. President speaking a lot of truth there. He was president-elect at the time. But that freaked out the swamp. That was before he became president. He was actually in the transition. They were going to do anything, in my opinion, to sabotage his presidency. And even prominent Democrats agree that the intelligence community, the swamp in general, they have a lot of power, and they could use it if they wanted to against a president.
He's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
Isn't that the most astounding thing ever? Why would you take on the intelligence community? I thought they were supposed to be objective and all about the data. Could they have feelings? Could those feelings be hurt? I guess so. They're human beings, but wow, that says an awful lot right there. Folks, stay tuned. And you know what? He's not just talking about the intelligence community. I think that could be applied to the swamp in general, other agencies like the Department of Justice. Oh, Dr. Jill Biden. Have you heard about this? She got a PhD in education a few years ago, and now she runs around insisting that everybody calls her doctor. Now, hate to tell her, I affirm.